and welcome to the Sportscast, November 29th, 2018. If you haven't yet, please subscribe in all our channels, YouTube, Periscope, iTunes, and Facebook. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave a rating and a review. It will help us out tremendously. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Oregon Ducks defeated their state rivals, the Oregon State Beavers, 55-15, finishing off the season strong. And to talk to us about it is Mr. Ty Turner from Minneapolis. What's going on, Ty?
Good.
So Oregon had a convincing win against a terrible team, probably one of the worst teams in the Pac-12. Herbert had 102 yards. Travis Dye had 199. Wait. What were your thoughts?
Herbert. Well, first off, make sure you put the whole context. You said Herbert had 102 yards. You're like, that's a terrible game. He got injured in the second quarter.
That's what.
So he only played. He actually played well. He was 9 for 12, 102 yards and a touchdown in the first quarter and a half. Oh, by the way, Cliff Kingsbury just got hired, like right now as I'm talking to you. He got hired by USC. So, anyways, yeah. So, 8-4 is what Oregon finished. How I look at this season is, I don't know. It's such a hard way to describe this season. They have one of the easiest schedules in the Power 5. So you say 8-4 with one of the easiest schedules. That's not very good. But at the same time, we have one of the worst. Our depth issues is one of the worst in the Power 5. I believe we had 73 guys on scholarship. I think that was it might have been the lowest amount of guys on scholarship of any school in the Power 5. I'm not No, I think Ole Miss is last. But Ole Miss is on probation, so that makes sense. Oregon's not on probation. That tells you between just a terrible recruiting by Mark Helfrich and then, Helfrich getting fired and Taggart leaving and 3 coaches in 3 years and guys transferring, it really just killed depth issues. So 8-4 probably is really what we are right now. I think people got a little hyped because they were 5-1. They had that great game against Stanford that they blew. They beat their arch rival Washington at home in overtime. They were number 11 in the country. And I think people were thinking that they were a little better than they were, and they kind of came down to earth. And I think they really, when I look at this roster, I look at the talent on the team, I think it really is an 8-4 team. I wouldn't say this team really underachieved, and it didn't overachieve. It pretty much finished part of the course. The good thing is we still got a bowl game, and a 9-4 with a big victory, maybe in the Holiday Bowl over Iowa, can get some momentum, and hopefully the recruiting finishes off strong. We've not had a good week. We've had 2 decommitments from 4 stars, so we've dropped from number 4 in the country to number 7. And we really need to not only have a big recruiting class, but we need to have a talented recruiting class because we need the guys. So we need, and it's very much predicated on the big decision that's coming up here. Does Justin Herbert go pro?
Big decision. And should he, Tyler?
Well, okay, I can only go, I don't know Justin Herbert. I do not know Justin Herbert. So who I'm going to quote is some of the sources being 3 guys from 247 Sports, a guy from ScoopDuck.com, Justin Hopkins. I used to follow him for a while. They don't like me on that site for whatever reason. But anyway, some of the guys from the Oregonian, and then quotes from NFL Scouts. There was an article by Dan Bugler in Athletic. And as far as everyone believes, Justin Herbert is not going to go pro.
And why?
Obviously, it's not come out of his mouth. He actually, at least according to scouts and a couple people close to Herbert, he actually, plain and simple, does not think he's ready.
You think he's ready or not?
That's it. He was very inconsistent towards the end of the season. If you had asked me after 6 games, I would have said he's unquestionably the first quarterback drafted. He's going to be a top 5 he should go, and he's ready. But then the second half of the season, when stuff started not going right, it really started to get him mentally. He started missing passes he shouldn't have been missing. His play was inconsistent. He also, at key points of games, made mistakes. He could have won the Utah game, and he kind of bumbled at the end there. He almost threw the game away against Arizona State. Like, it literally, Justin Herbert with 2 terrible interceptions almost threw the game away. So I would say maybe not. He still would probably be the number 1 quarterback drafted. He still was going to be a top 10 pick. But he doesn't think he's ready. He probably is not quite ready. So Justin Herbert is more than likely going to come back. Now you say, wow, that's a big deal there. Well, not only that, there is 3 offensive linemen, Calvin Throckmorton, Shane Lemieux, Jake Hansen, all 3-year starters, all juniors, and his star receiver, Dylan Mitchell, who led the Pac-12 in receiving yards, and star linebacker, a 3-year starter, 3-time defensive MVP for the team, Troy Dye, all could be leaving to the NFL too. But it is believed that they were waiting to see if Herbert came back. And because he's coming back, there's a good chance that they come back. So therefore, if all of these guys come back, Herbert and all the other 5 guys I mentioned, along with, if we can close out a top 10 recruiting class, remember we had a top 15 recruiting class last year, top 20 recruiting class the year before, Oregon will go into next year as a top 10 team.
I was going to ask you about that.
They literally would, they'd be returning, if this all happens, they'd be returning all 11 starters on offense. And they would be returning, I believe, 6 or 7 starters on defense. So they would be returning about 17 to 18 of 22 starters, including all the best players, Justin Herbert, Dylan Mitchell, Troy Dye. They lose a couple guys on defense, but yes, they would be the favorite in the Pac-12 and would probably be top 10.
Do you think they'll take over the Pac-12?
I mean, it's hard to say. Just because you're favored doesn't mean you do it. But they probably have the most talented team in the Pac-12, yeah. So there's a chance. But if Herbert, let's say, for instance, everyone's wrong. Herbert decides, I want to take the money. I want to take advantage of the opportunity. And then Dylan Mitchell decides to leave, and Troy Dye decides to leave, and all the linemen decide to leave, and then basically all the talent is freshmen and sophomores. Oregon won't even be in the top 25. So they're dependent on one guy, it could be top 10 or not even in the top 25. So it's a pretty drastic difference. And believe me, and next year's a tough schedule. Like, unlike this year, which had one of the easiest schedules, we have one of the toughest schedules in the Pac-12. We play Auburn at Jerry World to begin the year. We also play at USC, at Stanford, at Washington, at Arizona State, which are 4 of the best teams in the Pac-12. And Washington, remember, is extremely difficult at home. I think they're like 20-1 over the last 3 years. So we have a very tough schedule. That's why, even though we're preseason top 10, I still think we probably end up losing 2-3 games next year. I still think we're a 9-3, 10-2 team. Might be enough to win the Pac-12 North and go to the title, but I still think that without Herbert and all those guys, Oregon's looking at a 6-6 team, 5-7. I mean, and then all of a sudden you're going to start hearing people come after Mario Cristobal, which would be kind of unfair because the talent just wasn't really there. I mean, it was between 2014 and 2016, they were not highly ranked classes, and then a lot of the guys just didn't pan out. So those were just not talented teams for Oregon. So, I mean, I think it'd be a little unfair, but that would be the case. So there you go.
From the 4 losses between Stanford, Washington State, Utah, I don't know, I'm forgetting anyone else. Arizona. Which of those games could have been more winnable if they didn't do this and that? Like, which game was you think you wish you took back?
Well, of course, Stanford. I mean, they won. Stanford. They blew the game in the fourth quarter. I mean, they were up 24-7 Jalen Red scores, goes up 31-7. They turned it over. They turned the call over and called it not a touchdown because his foot hits the pylon. All of a sudden, the ball gets snapped over his head. Stanford goes the other way, scores a touchdown, comes back and wins in overtime. But that was a game for 3 quarters that Oregon systematically dominated. So they literally gave that game up. That being said, remember the Washington game? Washington had a chip field goal to win the game, and they missed it, and that gave Oregon the victory. So, you win some, you lose some. What's the worst game we played? Arizona. Arizona's not even a bowl team. Arizona's 5-7, and we lost 44-15. We played terrible. Our defense, our line, our quarterback, everyone played awful. So the worst performance, losing to the worst team, was Arizona. The game that we should have won that we lost was Stanford. But like I said, we could have lost Washington. And we almost gave up the Arizona State game. We dominated Arizona State for the first half and then almost gave them the game in the second half. So, long story short, this was pretty much an 8-4 team. This is really the record. I think this is what they were, an 8-4 team.
What overall grade would you give to Oregon this season? A, B, C, D, or F?
Oh, it's funny that they said that. You say grades because they graded the first-year coaches across college football for all the teams. And I think Dan Mullen for Florida was first. He was like a A. I think he was straight up A. And then you had like Jimbo Fisher I think was like an A-. And like Scott Frost was a B. And Mario Cristobal got a B-. Well, they posted this on an Oregon site, and guys were kind of mad. Look, how did you get? But I'm like, that's what he deserved. I mean, it was an easy schedule, but he also had a team that was missing spots and had a little amount of depth. I'm like, it was really an 8-4 season. I mean, the best it would be is 10-2. The worst it could be is probably like 7-5, but 8-4, 9-3 was the medium. So he didn't really deserve better than that. So I'd say B-. Do I think Mario Cristobal did an amazing job this year? No, he didn't. No, I mean, anytime your team on the road on what was it? They played 5 road games, right? Yeah, 5 road games. 3 of the 5 road games, the team literally seemed like they didn't show up in the first half against Arizona, Washington State, and Utah. That's on the coaches. Who's the one that gets them ready to show up? You can't blame a bunch of 18, 22-year-old kid. If you're going to do that, you're going to blame every kid across every college in the United States. At that point, it is on the coaches. They're the adults. They're the one that has to get them ready. And they weren't ready for 3 other 5 road games to begin the game. And and then they blew a game they're way ahead of. The coach needs to keep them composed and keep them together and not let things spiral out of control. It happened against Stanford, and it happened again against Arizona State. They got lucky to walk out of there with a win. But long story short is he did okay, but Mario Cristobal, I think, he's still an unknown. I tell you, with all the talent coming back, if Herbert comes back and all is fine, and let's say they finish 7-5, I'm going to really start thinking maybe Mario Cristobal's not the right guy to be the head coach of the University of Oregon. I'm not going to say that this year, but like another year where he underperforms or gets little out. I just think, and some people seem to. I mean, I think he's really liked in Oregon because he's a very nice guy. He's very approachable. He's very transparent with the media. So I think he's a very likable guy. But likability does not make you a great coach.
Speaking about coaches, what have you heard in the rumor mill? Who's leaving? Who's coming in?
Rumor mill. Okay. First off, congrats to Mac Brown. He's back in North Carolina. So there's one guy. I think you probably have most of the coaches in the Power 5 fired that are going to be fired.
That need to be fired.
So the openings right now, you have Colorado in the Pac-12. In the Big 12, you have Texas Tech. In the SEC, you have no one, right? Am I missing it?
For SEC, for coaches to be fired?
Is there anyone that's been fired in the SEC?
No, not yet. But you did rumored Auburn's coach to be fired.
There was rumors something was going to happen, but at the same time, it seems like they've been dispelled. It seems like they're going to make some coaching changes. They're also going to drop the buyout for Gus Malzahn. If I was Gus Malzahn, if something else really good comes up, I would take it, because Auburn is just that fan base is brutal, and you know what? He's always on the edge. I thought he should have gone to Arkansas last year, but I made a mistake. Instead, he signed a big deal with Auburn, and I wish they could think logically. You don't just, because a coach has a halfway decent year, you don't give them a huge contract and then with a huge buyout, and then the next year want to. I mean, it just does not make logical sense. But whatever. I could take a shot at that part of the country, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna walk away and be a better man. But anyways, you got ACC, you had North Carolina, you had Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, the coach quit. Retired, sorry. And then you have Big Ten, you have Maryland.
Yeah, we need a coach.
Am I missing anything?
Well, I'm reading 247 Sports, and they said they're dismissing the East Carolina coach, Scotty Montgomery.
That's not Power 5.
Okay.
There's not. I mean, I know there's some non-Power 5 schools open, but I'm going to try to stick to the Power 5, because non-Power 5, who knows?
There's a rumor that the Chargers' offensive coordinator, Ken Whisenhunt, is a prime candidate to replace Paul Johnson at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, Georgia Tech, yep, that's true.
Yep.
So let's go through them. Like Georgia Tech, I'm hearing Ken Whisenhunt. He was an ex-Georgia Tech alum. Obviously, he's a head coach on 2 different occasions. He's the offensive coordinator for the LA Chargers. He's a candidate. Also, I'm hearing Tony Elliott from Clemson. He's the offensive coordinator. He has an amazing story. If you ever want to watch it, it's on ESPN. His mom was murdered when he was just a kid. He ended up being a walk-on, and he earned a scholarship, and then he had developed a relationship with Dabo Swinney, and Dabo Swinney showed up at his house to give him a job, and he was like an engineer, I believe. I think he was like an engineer, and Dabo Swinney convinced him to get into coaching. So pretty remarkable story. He's maybe going to be the candidate up there in case you see Whisenhunt not get it. Colorado, I've heard Jim Leavitt, the offensive coordinator for Oregon, is actually a candidate. I'm also hearing, I hear Matt Wells, I believe his name is, from Utah State at Texas Tech. I'm hearing Scott Satterfield as the coach of Appalachian State at Louisville. How did I forget Louisville? Louisville, because Jeff Brom turned them down, stayed at Purdue. So I'm hearing Satterfield is the main guy they're going after there. Maryland, I'm hearing Mike Loxley, the offensive coordinator for the Alabama Crimson Tide. He was the former head coach of New Mexico. He didn't do very well, but he's been under Saban for 3 years. He's done very well, obviously, with the talent he has. He's considered the favorite at Maryland. I think Wells is the favorite. Matt Wells from Utah State is the favorite at Texas Tech. I think Colorado, I don't know who's the favorite. Who am I hearing for Colorado? Man, you know what? I'd have to do a little more research at Colorado. I'm trying to think of maybe a Norvell. I've heard his name go around, the Memphis coach. Obviously, he's playing against UCF for the conference title this week. Who else have I heard for Colorado? I think I even heard Jimmy Lake, the defensive coordinator for Washington, as a possibility. Then like Jim Leavitt, he was the defensive coordinator at Colorado before he went to Oregon. But I think I got a feeling Leavitt, 61. He also had a very controversial reason why he was fired. So I don't know if he's going to get a Power 5. I'm also hearing Bill Snyder might retire at Kansas State. There is a possibility Urban Meyer. We will see, but there's a possibility Urban Meyer retires for Ohio State. A lot of smoke there. There's also the possibility that Brian Kelly goes to the NFL. Obviously, you wouldn't know that till after the season. You always wonder about Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
You always wonder about Jim Harbaugh. And the thing is, the NFL jobs aren't going open for another 6 weeks.
Correct.
So then, when the NFL jobs open up, are you going to see them go after Brian Kelly, go after Urban Meyer, the Packers, go after Lincoln Riley, go after Jim Harbaugh? The Packers are going to want to make a big hire because they have one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, and they've underachieved with him. They're probably not going to make the playoffs for the second straight year. That's a big job to have open. And the same with the Cowboys. Obviously, to be head coach of the Dallas Cowboys is a very prestigious job. And if Jason Garrett doesn't make the playoffs, that job could be open. So you see a couple NFL jobs that are going to go after some big names. Are they going to go into the college ranks? Some say they might. There's some rumors that some say they might. So we'll see.
I'm hearing also Auburn's Chip Lindsey is a top candidate for Tennessee's offensive coordinator job.
Yep, I heard that.
And
I mean, he hasn't done that great at Auburn, so I don't know why they're hiring him. But whatever.
And are you surprised that Jeff Brom stays at Purdue?
Well, the draw to go home, he was a former quarterback for Louisville, had to be strong, but the thing was, it's his second year. He's done well. He's gotten Purdue to respectability. He's recruiting well. Most of his talent is super young. I just think he felt like he had unfinished business, and yeah, I understand why he made the decision he did.
Texas Tech is interested in Matt Wells.
I already talked about that. Were you not listening
You
to me?
did. I think I'm going through yesterday's rumors, and they changed throughout time.
I already talked about
that. So back to Auburn. Auburn, you think they'll keep their coach, Malzahn?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I think for right now, unless he leaves.
Where would he go?
He would have to leave if you have to go to one of the openings. Who knows? That's the thing. I don't see him as a great fit for any of the openings. Like, none of these openings are great. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, this is not a year because USC kept Helton. If USC got rid of Clay Helton, that is obviously one of the best jobs in college football. So, like, that would have everyone. Who knows anyone's in play, because you don't really turn down USC more than likely.
Yeah, but also Auburn.
No one.
But Auburn is a very good gig to to keep. It's one of the best teams in the nation.
Yeah, Auburn's a good job. The problem with Auburn right now is they have to compete with Alabama, and Alabama is just a perennial. You're just a power. They're just not. They are the powerhouse of college football. So I don't think the job's quite as appealing because of that. Because you're having to literally compete against your biggest rival when they're at the peak of their power. So I think Auburn's a great job in context, but in the current climate, I don't think it is. See, like USC would be the Pac-12 is down. Like, there is a dearth of talent overall, and it's just so to get the USC job when you get the most talent in the Pac-12 to one of the most historic programs, one of the true blue bloods of college football, that's a great job. So USC is a great job. You know what I'm saying? If Ohio State opened, Ohio State's still one of the best jobs in college football, and you're always going to get the top talent in the Big Ten. So if that comes open, that would be huge. And then Notre Dame's Notre Dame. That's always going to be a big job. So if those jobs come open, more than likely it's obviously because Kelly's not going to get fired, and Meyer's not going to get fired, and Lincoln, and let's say Oklahoma comes open. Those aren't because the guys got fired, because they decide to go to the NFL and coach. They decide they want to win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, which wouldn't that be tempting for you?
That would be an opportunity of a lifetime.
Think about it. If I was Urban Meyer, I don't know. I'm just saying, you get to walk in with the best quarterback. Maybe he's not playing like the best this year. Actually, his play's been a little down, but still overall, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I don't know. It sounds like a good way to jump into the NFL.
Good situation to walk into. Absolutely.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
From the Power 5, who was the worst from the Power 5 this year?
You cut out. What'd you say?
From the Power Five, who was the worst conference from the Power Five this year?
Unfortunately, I hate to say it, I'm gonna have to go Pac-12. They just didn't have any great teams, so yeah, the Pac-12 is the worst conference.
And were you surprised?
I mean,
Yeah.
top to bottom, ACC was pretty weak, and the Big 12 was not super strong, but they still have Oklahoma. They still have Clemson. We didn't have anyone. So, yeah.
And were you kind of surprised that Washington State lost against Washington?
No. I picked them. Don't you remember?
Yeah, you did. You did. It was a snow game too.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that was going to happen, but I knew that. Overall, Washington has better talent, and Mike Leach has not done well against Chris Peterson, so he's never beat him. So I was kind of not surprised.
It's quite interesting coming towards the end of the season. I guess we could jump into predictions, or you want to talk about anything else?
I don't have predictions. Did I say anything else we're going to talk about? I guess predictions. Predictions gonna. What are you going to ask me?
Yeah, predictions kind of ties up in with conference championship games.
Yeah.
So, but I do want to hear.
That's what I'll do.
Yeah. Okay. Which conference championship game are you looking forward to? Like, what is the biggest game this weekend?
Well, which one's the biggest game? It's unquestionably Georgia versus Alabama. Yeah. But I don't like either of those teams at all. So, am I most looking forward to it? Not really, because I don't like either one. So I don't really have anyone to root for.
But it is the biggest game.
I'm still going to watch it.
It's
the biggest game. Which game? I don't really actually have a dog in any of these fights. I'm not a fan of any of these teams. I'm probably really excited to see, or not probably, Texas-Oklahoma. I mean, it's going to be an offensive affair. It's a rematch. It's a big rivalry game. That's a great game. And then, is Ohio State going to have a letdown against Northwestern?
Okay, so first I'll read you the rankings, and then we're going to see the possibility. What could happen after this weekend with the rankings? First Alabama, then Clemson, then Notre Dame, Georgia, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Michigan, Central Florida, and LSU. How do you see the top 10? What if Georgia loses? I mean, what if Georgia wins against Alabama? Does Alabama stay in the top 4? What's the whole situation going to happen this weekend?
So do you want me to say if that happens, what would happen? Yeah.
What will happen if Georgia beats Alabama?
Georgia beat it. They both get in. Yeah. But you know what I actually think should happen? I think they should both get in, be second and third seed, and play each other again for the first playoff game, and then you have Clemson versus Notre Dame. What I don't think would be fair is if you put Alabama at 4, and then Clemson, who would be number 1, have to play Alabama, even though, I just do think that'd be a very unfair move to Clemson. So I think it should be they just play each other again. So,
and then who?
That's what if that happens.
Yeah,
that happens. But who do I think is going to win? I think Alabama wins.
And if Georgia loses, who has a better shot getting into that last 4th spot?
Better shot between who?
Between Oklahoma and Ohio State.
Well, Oklahoma's rated higher. They actually play the higher-rated team, and if they beat them, they would have revenged their loss. I don't see Oklahoma winning and not getting in because of all that.
All right.
I think Ohio State's better, but I think they need them to win, and I don't think it's going to happen. I think Oklahoma beats Texas. And I think Ohio State beats Northwestern, and I think it is the Final Four is Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma.
Ooh, I like that. We'll see what happens. Ready for some predictions?
Go ahead.
Let's
I
go.
gave them already, but that's good.
Utah at Washington. Utah versus Washington at Levi Stadium, Pac-12 championship.
Washington. They played earlier. I just think Utah is still without Tyler Huntley and their star running back, and they have won. They beat my Ducks. They beat Colorado. They came back last week and won against BYU, even though they're behind. But that being said, I think Washington is going to really force the guy. I mean, Washington makes it where you really have to make plays on their defense. They're just very good defensively. Jimmy Lake is he's an excellent defensive coordinator, and they have great defensive backfield. And I just think he's going to make some mistakes. He's just a freshman, so I think that's going to be enough. I think Washington wins.
Tyler goes
I want Washington to win. I want Washington to win. I hate to say that, but that means the Ducks make the Holiday Bowl. If Washington loses, then Ducks get knocked down to the Sun Bowl. So yeah, I'm actually rooting for Washington, believe it or not.
Texas versus Oklahoma at the AT&T Stadium in Dallas.
I do think Oklahoma wins. I think it's a good game, but I think Oklahoma is just a little better.
And give us a scoreline for that one.
Oh, I have no idea. 49-42.
Okay.
A lot to a lot.
Clemson versus Pittsburgh at the Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte.
That's a terrible. The ACC really
is that bad?
I know I said the Pac-12 is the worst, but actually the only reason why ACC is the worst conference. Pittsburgh. I mean, that's a blowout. I mean, Clemson destroys it. That's a terrible conference title game. Absolutely deplorable.
I guess we know your answer. Clemson, right?
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's arguable that the ACC doesn't deserve to have one other. Well, I guess Syracuse, but really barely has another top 25 team. It's a really bad conference, top to bottom.
Yeah, well, I mean, if Miami was better, if Virginia Tech was better, or Boston College, Syracuse,
Florida
State, there's a lot of good teams in that team that just didn't act up.
No, they're terrible.
Yeah, I know. It's horrible. Let's go to the Big Ten Championship, Northwestern versus Ohio State in Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium.
I think Ohio State wins. They've been inconsistent this year, and Northwestern is a consistent team. I mean, there's part of me that's like, could they go out and just throw a complete dud and lose? But I think they win. I think it's a little closer than people are giving it credit for. I think it's going to be pretty close.
And lastly, Alabama versus Georgia at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia.
I think Alabama wins. I think Georgia does put up some offense. I think Georgia's defense also makes a few plays and makes Alabama work. But I think it's going to be something like a 35-24 victory.
And give us 35 for what?
35-24.
35-20. Okay, it'll be a high scoring. And keep in mind, this is a rematch from last year's national championship.
Who?
So, which they say it's a weaker Georgia than last year.
No, I actually would say it's about the same. No, I would say it's a weaker Georgia. No,
Okay.
it's about the same. A lot of the same players. I think it's a little stronger Alabama.
Awesome. Let's go NFL tonight. The Saints at the Cowboys.
Oh, that's a good game.
Very.
Saints pretty good. Yep.
Okay. Arizona at Green Bay.
I think Green Bay's not playing well. Oh, jeez, we just lost, 3 in a row? 4 in a row, right? We lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, it's...
Wait, we lost we lost to Minnesota last week. We lost to New England. We lost to Seattle. We lost to the Rams. So, yeah, we lost 4 in a row. We won one in there. We beat someone in there.
Let me double check. Green Bay
I think
Packers.
Yeah, I think we did.
The coach will be fired. They beat...
Oh, he's fired.
They beat the Dolphins.
Yep. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's fired. So that's the good news because he's someone that somehow lucked into.
You're right.
Anyway,
like everyone's talking about that.
He's fired. He's fired. Anyways, I'm like curious who's the next coach going to be. I'm kind of excited. You know who I want?
Mike Leach.
I want it to be Lincoln Riley. No. Mike Leach is not a pro coach. Lincoln Riley. Even though Leach is, Riley kind of was under the same system. He actually learned under Leach, but I think he still has a more of a pro. The way he runs his office could translate to the NFL a little better than Leach. But anyways, long story short,
Lincoln Riley is your
Packers
top choice. It's Tyler's choice for Green Bay Packers coach. Let's go on.
And Packers win.
Yeah, and Buffalo at Miami.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I guess Miami.
I hope.
I don't know.
The Broncos at the Bengals.
Is Dalton out for the year? Did I hear that?
Yes, that is correct.
Dalton out for the
That is correct, yeah.
Who's quarterback now? Is it A.J. McCarron?
I think so. Let me double check you on that. Bengals QB. No, it'll be Driscoll, Jeff Driscoll. What, the former Florida guy?
Yeah.
Wow,
he wasn't even good in college. Okay. That was enough. Denver.
The other option was Tom Savage.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Denver.
Baltimore Ravens at the Falcons.
I'm always so sorry. I'm a little tired.
I can tell.
Ravens, I think they're kind of struggling. I think Harbaugh is out. I think John Harbaugh is going to be gone actually after this year.
Well, they had a big win last weekend with Lamar Jackson.
They did, but they've been up and down this year, and the Falcons have been very up and down. They've not had a good season. It's at Falcons?
Yep, it's at the Dome.
I'll take Falcons.
The day after the SEC championship game.
Nice.
Minnesota at the Patriots.
Minnesota's playing pretty well, but I think at New England, I obviously would not mind if Minnesota, because we still possibly could get in the playoffs. Minnesota does, but I still want the Packers to sneak in the playoffs. If they run the table, it's possible. I'm gonna go Patriots.
The Chargers at the Steelers. Huge AFC change.
Chargers have had a good year.
Melvin Gordon.
Chargers had a good year, but I still think the Steelers win at home.
Yeah,
the Chargers have had a good season.
Yeah, they had a interesting game against Denver this past weekend. Steelers lost, and Chargers have been doing really well. And that is... hold on. Is that it? I think that is it. And hypothetical... Redskins at Eagles for Monday Night Football.
Redskins haven't looked very good with Colt. I'll go Eagles. Are we going to talk about Gonzaga versus Duke?
Yes. What happened?
What do you mean what happened?
Gonzaga beat Duke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
what happened?
Yeah, that was a huge win. Duke is favorite to win it all, but Gonzaga is number one in the nation.
Yep. I think Gonzaga's a good team. I think what you saw there was
R.J. Barrett had 23 points. Zion Williamson had 22. Cam Reddish. Oh, yeah, wait. This is Duke.
No. That's Duke. It's Duke versus Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Was that against Gonzaga? They had the good numbers. But it was one of those games that you definitely saw the youth come out. And Duke did not play the best game. They did not shoot as well as they normally do. But some of that's attributed to freaking Gonzaga's pretty good. They play good defense. Roy Hachimura is a stud. Josh Perkins has been a couple years. He started the last couple of years. Mike Norvell, or is it Jay Norvell? Norvell, whatever his name is. is one of the best three-point shooters, a guy who probably will play in the league. Clutch Manure and Norvell will probably be in the league. Achilles not even playing, and he's probably a future NBA player. So Gonzaga's one of the more talented teams. They're a more experienced team. They've played together 2-3 years as opposed to all these freshmen for Duke. So, I was not surprised in that day. People thought it was an upset. I kind of thought Gonzaga might win. Now, if they play later in the year, I still think man-to-man, there's no one more talented than Duke. I mean, Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish could be the number 1, 2, 3 players picked in the draft. And then you add in a guy like Jones, the point guard. You could have 4 guys drafted in the first round. So this is an extraordinarily talented team. But you know what? Playing a more experienced team like a Gonzaga, like a Kansas, that have talented guys in their own right, but more experienced guys, they're going to give Duke trouble because it's, after all, you can't coach age, and they're freshmen. So
typical enough. And one random question is, if you were GM, would you draft a quarterback every year till you get the right person?
No, I know you asked this question in our sportscast thing, but no.
One guy.
Why would you do that?
One guy brought that. Well,
you're going to have no other players. What?
One guy said, "Yeah, I mean, you draft them and then you trade them if they didn't work out."
Was that Justin Riley?
No, some other guy in the podcast I was hearing this morning. It was pretty interesting what he said.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's possible. I mean, okay, for instance, though, are you really for this year's draft, NFL draft? Well, let's just go hypothetical. You have,
Sam Darnold. Let's go for the Jets.
Herbert's not coming out. No, but who are you going to draft this year? The guys aren't that great.
Herbert.
So you're going to just all of a sudden go draft Herbert's not coming out probably. So
Haskins.
So Herbert comes out. At least you. Yeah, I mean, but really, you're going to give Sam Darnold 1 year with a very bad team. That he has no weapons around him, and you're just going to get rid of him for Dwayne Haskins, a guy who's a third. I mean, no, it's stupid. That's stupid.
I just want to hear your opinion.
You have to get No, that's stupid because you have to get guys around him. So how is a guy supposed to be successful when he's not getting blocked? When his O line's getting run through like white on rice, whatever the terminology you want to use, when he has no one getting open, when he doesn't have a run game, when he has a defense that just leaves him out to dry because they get run on, and so no, you can't, no. If you draft a guy, you got to give him a couple years. I mean, got to give him a chance to have weapons.
You're right.
Get guys there to protect him. And so keep on trading. You could get rid of someone who could be good.
It's true. It might take 2-3 years.
Didn't you say you should? Didn't you say you should?
Well, you convinced me and changed my mind, which I am changing my mind. I think it's pretty crazy.
I know, it's ridiculous.
You just keep at it. I mean, one guy said draft them from lower rounds, maybe, but still, you probably get low quality quarterbacks either way.
Yeah, and then you're just not going to get as good a quarterback. What good does that do? No, if you draft a Sam Darnold, you draft Sam Darnold, you then try to get pieces around him that can have him be more successful in the future.
You got to believe in him.
I do agree. Quarterbacks win you the championships. You normally stay successful for long periods with a big-time quarterback.
Right.
A la Tom Brady in the New England. A la Peyton in his days in Indianapolis. Who's more recent? I mean, whoever. Pat Mahomes with his success at Kansas City. So you win with good quarterback play, but he has to have someone to throw to. He has to have the right coaches there. He has to have the right people protecting him. He has to have the defense that can put him in position to be successful. And a team like the Jets, which is so dysfunctional and lacks overall talent, no, you're not going to just move on from Sam Darnold. Same with the Bills. Obviously Mayfield's not doing bad. And he doesn't even have that much talent around him. Look how good he's doing, and offensively, he still needs some more players.
True.
They have pretty good defense. They have some studs on defense. Myles Garrett, but on offense, he needs some people around him, and he's done pretty well. Josh Rosen needs people around him. So, no, you got to give the guy a couple years. No, I mean, you just have to. Because if he's going to a bad team, you just give him 1 year and he's bad because he's playing with crappy players and crappy coaches, and you're like, oh, no, you get rid of a couple things. Then if you draft some good players and he still is making bad reads, he's still making bad decisions, he still is just not growing as a player, then you move on.
Exactly.
But no, people move on too fast. We move too fast. That's our society. What are you doing for me now? Come on. What are you doing? Wait, why aren't you winning right away? Same with a coach. You can't throw a coach in with no players and expect him to win a lot.
And lastly,
like, you can't. Like,
anyway,
you can't.
What is who is your Mount Rushmore for college football coaches overall?
College football
coaches, yeah, and there's only 4 spots.
College football, all time.
All time.
Oh my gosh, that's so hard. I'm not going to go all time. So it's right there. I'm going to go my lifetime.
Okay.
So I'm going to say guy because you got Bear Bryant, you got so many great guys, but I'm not going to go there because I didn't see them, I didn't watch them. I'm going to go with the guys in my lifetime. Who are the 4 best college football coaches in the last since I was cognizant and able to know college football? I'll say since 1990. Okay. Since 1990, I've watched football since I was like 7. Number 1, Tom Osborne. He won 3 national titles. And he did this a lot of success before, but in my lifetime, he won 3 national titles in 4 years. He was incredible. So Tom Osborne. Number 2, I'm going to say Nick Saban. Whether I like Alabama or not, his run, and of course he won an Natty at LSU. Then it gets a little tighter, but I'm going to go Bobby Bowden because of just his sustained success. You know, a couple national titles, 4 or 5 appearances, several Heisman Trophy winners. I think it was 2 or 3. And then my last guy, I guess I got to go Urban Meyer. He's won 3 national titles. He's had, Heisman Trophy winner. He won at 2 different places, Florida and Ohio State. So my 4 is Tom Osborne, Urban Meyer, Bobby Bowden, and
Meyer,
Nick Saban. But and then like honorable mentions like a Steve Spurrier.
I was going to say that.
A Steve Spurrier, I would say is an honorable mention. I maybe would put up there as an honorable mention Frank Beamer. He was very successful at, and then like a Bill Snyder, a guy that maybe didn't win national titles but did a lot with programs that normally weren't very good before them.
Totally fine.
So, but I'm going to go with the guys who won the top. I'm going to go Pete Carroll too. Hey, as much as I hate USC, Pete Carroll was very successful. I mean, and he won. Remember, he won a Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl and 2 national titles, and he had 3 Heisman Trophy winners in 4 years. So, very successful run for Pete Carroll.
Would Chip Kelly be one of the best coaches Oregon has ever had?
Oh, he is the best coach Oregon's ever had.
Okay. Just want to hear.
Oh, Chip Kelly's best, yeah.
Okay.
Now, we'll see how the career of Mario Cristobal goes, but Chip Kelly, in his 4 years, led them to 2 Pac-12 titles, a national title appearance. They finished in the top 5 3 times, and so, yeah, he was very good in his 4 years there.
Tyler.
And then, obviously, he set them up nice, too. So
that's a very good Mount Rushmore. Very solid from top of your head. Overall, maybe do some more research for the next show. I'm not sure if you want to do that.
What'd you say?
Maybe for the next show, do the overall Mount Rushmore.
Overall, all I'm going off of is names. I didn't see their program. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, Bryant. We know Bryant will be in there.
Yeah, I know. I like Bear Bryant and Errol Parseghian and I remember Jimmy Johnson, Barry Switzer at Oklahoma. I mean,
now we're talking.
But I didn't. No, but I didn't see them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's even college basketball. John Wooden's the greatest college basketball coach of all time. It's not even close. But I mean, but if you're going to go my lifetime, college basketball would be like Mike Krzyzewski, would be Roy Williams, would be John Calipari. But of all time, no. I mean, you're going to have Wooden and Rupp and Smith and guys like that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I gotcha. Well, Tyler, how can people reach you, talk to you this weekend about the conference championship games?
Tyler Turner, Minneapolis. Feel free to talk. I will argue with you at will.
And will you be watching the SEC championship closely?
Yeah, as closely as you can get. I mean, I'm like, I really am not into those teams. I'm not an SEC fan.
I know.
Do you not realize that by now?
But there's a lot.
I wish that conference would disappear.
Or split up.
No, not really. Because, as I said before, the SEC top to bottom is not, I don't even think it's the best conference. I think
they're top heavy. You have very good analytics with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, more than anything, it's the top. Top
two,
yeah,
top
they're
three.
very top heavy because I'd say it's their top. Yeah, their top. Sorry, I'm doing something as I'm talking. They're top like two. They're top two, honestly. All the other ones are beatable. I want to see how the matchups end up. I would love to see, because Ryan's up there arguing with me. So I want to see Florida play Penn State. I want to see Florida versus Penn State. You know who I think's going to win? I think Penn State beats Florida. I think they have more offense.
Wow.
So Kentucky versus Northwestern. I think Northwestern beats Kentucky. I think they have more offense. You got in the, I think it's Outback Bowl. You could possibly be having Mississippi State versus Michigan State. Michigan State's not great, so I don't know. But I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of Big Ten versus SEC matchups. Citrus Bowl, Outback Bowl, possibly one of the New Year's Six bowls, maybe the Gator Bowl. And I'm interested because the last couple of years, the Big Ten's done pretty good against SEC. And I just think people are like SEC and they all get rated. Like Kentucky's rated high. Mississippi State's rated high, despite having 4 losses. And I'm like, they're not that good. Like, I think Iowa's better than Mississippi State. If Mississippi State's rated like 16th, and Iowa's not rated, I think Iowa would beat them. So, yeah.
Well, Tyler, we could talk about SEC all day if we wanted to. Big games this weekend, guys. Conference championship games.
Nope. I got to actually go. I got to answer a call.
5 games. Anyways, thanks very much for joining the Sportscast, Ty.
I see you, dude.